Dan Bongino. No, it's the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I sounded like the guy for a second there, didn't I? We're having the James Show unofficial meetup where we're all going to be piling into Richardson Bar and Grill. It's on Campbell, just east of 75. If you want more details, email me, james at WBAP.com. This isn't like an official station event. You're not going to hear promos for it. We're not going to have a promo table there with any giveaways or whatever. It's just a bunch of people have been bugging me to hang out. And I think more people are interested in meeting each other, more so than me, which is fine. I just hear from a lot of people like it's how hard it is to have a social life now that you're in your 40s or 50s and the kids are gone and half the people think that you're a Nazi. And, we'll find some like-minded people tomorrow at 7. I just had to show you this. Whoopi Goldberg got all offended because she thinks someone might be taking away her Manjaro. Now, Whoopi Goldberg is someone I give a lot of grief on this show. Make no mistake, I like her. I like Rosie O'Donnell. I like Kathy Griffin. Now, as human beings, maybe not so much, but they are great comedians. I can't pretend like I haven't seen Whoopi stand up that I laughed at. I can't pretend like that. I can't pretend like I didn't like Sister Act and I didn't like all her other movies that she was in over the years. And can't pretend. Same thing with Rosie O'Donnell. She has pretty good stand up. Joy Behar, actually pretty good stand up. Kind of pains me to say. Chelsea Handler, pretty good stand up. I like it. And actually, in real life, many of my friends are just crazy leftists like this. Why? Because I don't know. I don't pick friends based on their ideology. But you just got to hear this. Whoopi Goldberg. It starts off with what may be a legit critique of RFK and turns into the idea that she doesn't want her Manjaro taken away. And she gives you a little too much information here. Like, I want you to think, like, Whoopi Goldberg's lost a lot of weight this year. But how big did she get? She'll tell you. This is so weird. But this was from The View on Friday.
This isn't just about food.
No, it's not.
This is sometimes people genetics. Are born genetically larger.
Agreed. I didn't mean to.
No, I know you didn't. Yeah. But I want to say this to
RFK.
RFK? That's his name. Because you're setting folks up for shame.
Yeah.
That's what you're trying. Maybe you don't know you're doing. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt.
All right, let me pause right here because there's some more good stuff coming up. But just as a first off, is there any way you can make the case that people need to get in shape without risking the idea that they may be shamed for being out of shape? Of course not. I don't want you to be someone who's a sociopath, but there is such thing as having too much empathy. And there is such thing as like too much empathy being a very bad thing. Never telling somebody that their breath stinks isn't a good thing. Never telling somebody, hey, be good if you got in shape or maybe lost 100 pounds or so. Telling people to correct their bad behaviors because you want a better future for them is not bad. It may be shameful accidentally, but you should still do it. Anyway, that being said, the whole idea that RFK is telling people, hey, maybe you should get in shape instead of taking all these drugs. That's not a bad thing, but that's okay. She sees it that way. That's fine. I also wanted to point out before we get to the rest of the soundbite, she's saying, well, there's some people just genetically predisposed to being huge.
I'm going to say you don't know, you don't realize what you do to people when you say stuff like that, because it doesn't work for everybody. And I'm going to show you, sir, because I weighed close to 300 less than 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Bro, I had no idea she had gotten up to 300 pounds. Oh my God, she outweighed me by almost 100 pounds and I'm 6'3". Good Lord. Like, I know she had gotten big and I even made some beanbag jokes about her. I feel bad. I didn't know she was that big. 300 pounds is a lot. Because what is she, like 5'8"? My goodness. Imagine carrying around just like she looks like she's maybe 200 at the most now. Imagine carrying around a 100-pound plate, the weights that you put on the barbells at the gym. All right, if you've ever been to a gym before, there's weights you put on barbells. Imagine just holding one of those 100-pound ones and carrying around all day. That's what she did. Good Lord. You don't want that improvement for other people? Anyway, hang on. It gets better. She's not done.
And without the Manjaro, this would not have happened.
There you go.
Take it off. Take it off.
So she stands up and kind of twists around.
There you go. And I try to tell everybody, listen, this worked for me. This may work for y'all. You cannot take it out of people's hands if it can help. Because if we can keep people healthy, if we can get rid of diabetes, if we can get rid of all of the things cardiovascular, what's wrong with trying to do that?
Nothing.
You're wrong on this, R.
All right, so all he's saying is you don't have to take drugs to do it. You could diet and exercise. And I think Manjaro just kind of disproves the point she was making at the beginning. Well, maybe you're not just predestined by your genetics to a life of being 300 pounds. Maybe if you just stopped eating with a shovel, you could lose some weight, because she didn't start exercising. All Manjaro makes you do in these, I know people on them, they just make you eat less. And so it kind of dispels a lot of what RFK's saying and what a lot I hear from listeners and some of my wife and her friends. Oh, these preservatives are so bad, or these genetically modified carrots are bad, or industrial strength herbicides, or you don't even know what you're putting in this food, and there's all kinds of gluten and it's terrible, and BPA and whatever the lining they put in the plastic. No, it's not that. Because we're seeing the people, they're still eating fast food, they're still eating genetically modified, they're still eating gluten, and they're losing weight. Why? Because they're just eating less. The balance of caloric intake versus calories burned happens to go in the right direction. If we could just convince you not to eat for recreation, not to eat for sport, not to eat like you're on ESPN Coney Island July 4th. No, I think that's the lesson we're learning here. It's not preservatives, it's not genetically modified. Just eat less, significantly less in your case. Whoopee. And how about we just throw in there exercise? Does that make me a bad person? Fine. I'm a bad person because I don't just want you to be not fat. I also want you to have a little bit of strength. Don't be the weakest version of yourself possible, because being weak fat is barely better than, being weak thin is barely better than being weak fat. That's as close as I get to being a philosopher. That's all you're going to get out of me. Before I get out of here, Gabriel Iglesias coming to Lucas Oil Live, WinStar World Casino and Resort, February 1st. I know that's some people's favorite comedian out there. If you want to go, you can go to winstar.com, or it's one of our contests. Text the word funny to 800-288-9227. Like me, funny, to 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, I saw a disappointing headline in the Dallas Morning News, and I know it's disappointing because they told me it was disappointing in the headline. Geez, don't let your bias show too much here, but the headline says, very disappointed, anticipated Tom Thumb in Redbird area cancels plans to open a store. Now, you're not shocked. You don't have to be the most fluent in North Texas of your neighborhoods to know that, that's not the most affluent neighborhood North Texas has to offer. And if some store is looking at expanding and, they turn down a neighborhood, that's not really that big of a deal. Why is it news? Well, in my opinion, it's news because the city council promised $5.8 million in subsidies last year. And whoa, that's a big number. Hang on. Now, I'm not trying to be sensational. It's not as bad as it sounds. A lot of this is just tax incentives, meaning it's not money that was taken from you and given to them yet. It was going to be money that was taken from them from you and given to them after they had come in business, and we were going to pay them back some of their taxes. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. No, they were going to give them more of your money. So that it wasn't all flushed down the toilet, but some of it was. Some of the money's already been spent. Part of the deal was they had to make improvements to this old site in order to prep it for Tom Thumb. And look, they did their market research, and they had until they weren't to the deadline yet to pull out. So they're not breaking any contracts, they're not breaking any rules. They just did their due diligence and decided that, listen, bro, even though you guys are kicking in, how much was it to redo the building? These are some big numbers. $12 million. Redbird was supposed to spend $12 million on the building and site work, restriping the parking lot, things like that. Tom Thumb was supposed to make $5 million in improvements to finish out the building. So millions have already been spent, but they decided, even with the 50,000 square foot supermarket bringing in around 90 jobs, that they couldn't pull a profit in that area. And it's so interesting to see when this is covered by people who are steeped in the narrative, and they just can't figure out why. Why would companies leave these terrible neighborhoods? Well, it can't be anything wrong with the neighborhoods. It must be racism. I mean, that keeps coming up, but it's not that, y'all. It's not that. Can we even toss around some other ideas on why stores leave neighborhoods regardless of the skin tone of the people who live in close proximity? Because one thing they didn't bring up in this article, they were concerned about, the lack of high quality grocers in the area. And they were concerned about the lack of the delivery services that some people have in other areas. And it's just not fair. Anybody bring up some fact that maybe there's some shoplifting issues that are higher in some neighborhoods versus other neighborhoods that make a store not profitable? Nah, didn't even come up. Didn't even come up. Treating people like zoo animals is not helping them. Treating people like they're in fifth grade is not helping them. Treating them like full adults would be so much better. It wouldn't be pretty. It wouldn't be nice. It wouldn't be sensitive. But this patronizing stuff is not very respectful at all. It's a very benevolent form of racism in my book to just not even bring it up, because you don't see this. You don't see the reporting even. Where I grew up, it was 40-minute round trip to the nearest gallon of milk. If you had no one standing in your way and you hit all the green lights, it could take you 20 minutes to get to the nearest grocery store from where I grew up, and that's in the middle of nowhere. Anybody concerned about that? No one's ever concerned. In fact, if you drive a couple hours in any direction, people have a longer trip to get groceries than the people in the Redbird area of Dallas. Is there any concern about them living in a food desert? Is there any concern about, when we have failed people out in the sticks, it's because they're not walking distance to an organic bell pepper? I mean, they come up with every reason other than the most basic, obvious ones here. What are the fixes? How do we fix what's going wrong in some of these poor neighborhoods? Well, we should have after school programs, and they should have free lunch, and they should have free transportation. It's nah, that's what your dad's supposed to do. Y'all want to try dads at some point? Maybe the Tom Thumb is more profitable in Farmers Branch because they have more dads there. Maybe because, there are more dads, then there's less socioeconomic pain. There's less poverty. Food's more readily available. There's less of an incentive to shoplift. And there's more of a, dare I say, ethics against shoplifting. And this isn't a race thing. The same thing happens no matter your color. If you're raised in a household with your dad, you happen to follow some very good statistics that just don't ever get brought up or even discussed. We have to pretend to not know some things that we know. But the problem here isn't even necessarily whether or not Tom Thumb is choosing their own neighborhoods or whether or not they're being leaned on. The problem is that they were about to give $5.8 million to these people. This is a lot of money. I know this is a metropolitan area of 7 million people, but what in the world entitles Tom Thumb to get almost $6 million worth of help in order to build in that neighborhood? Why not Fiesta? Why not Kroger? Why not Brookshire's? Why not H-E-B? See, this is the dastardly part to where whenever you come up with these ideas, there's always going to be a human being sitting in some office in the Capitol or in City Hall, depending on what level of government you're at, that actually gets to be the dude who picks and chooses who gets these subsidies, who gets this help, who gets to benefit from this program. And so all you've done is distorted the market for grocery stores. And now it's not the best grocery store that gets the best quality at the best price with the best service. It's the company that now donates to the right politicians and sucks up and bribes and pays off City Hall. They're the ones that get to benefit. All under the guise of helping the little guy. Did the little guy get helped here? No. No, the little guy had his tax money stolen and flushed down the toilet. Tom Thumb almost got helped. Everyone lost in this one. All right, we have EAS alert, some severe weather in your area. We're going to let you know about it now because that's what we do on WBAP.
Chief Meteorologist Brad Barton live in the WBAP Weather Center. The National Weather Service issuing a severe thunderstorm warning for northwestern Dallas County right now. Storms moving through the area. Stand by as we alert our other stations in the area on WBAP.
Hey there, welcome to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Behind the scenes, behind the curtain, it's this. That's not the facade, the front I'm putting on for the air product on the show. Things are getting a little brutal back here. People are sending me the before and after about the Madison shooter The theory is on X, that's a trans. It's a dude that wants to be a girl, and there's already a screenshot of a manifesto, and none of this is confirmed, or I don't even like the sources it's coming from. It very well may be right, but what does it hurt if I just wait till tomorrow? In case I'm wrong and I stir up a bunch of stuff, I don't want to have to come out and do a George Stephanopoulos payoff apology or something like that. But look, the evidence is starting to pile up. Don't worry. I'm not dodging it. You know, when we know, I'm probably going to hammer it on tomorrow's show for sure. But keep sending me stuff. I don't mind if you send me the before and after pictures and some of the manifesto and the whatnot on the Madison school shooter. You know, and it's not that I hope you're right. It's just that it would make sense, and it would be another anti-Christian terror attack by a trans activist, which those are really starting to pile up. But we got to play Dead or Alive. Let's do some fun stuff. We'll get back into morbid territory on tomorrow's show when we have some of this nailed down. But today we're going to be playing for 2 tickets to see Brooks and Dunn. So if you're a fan of Brooks and Dunn, by the way, I hear Brooks and Dunn are not a fan of Brooks and Dunn. Did you know this rumor that they don't like each other? They have to like travel in separate buses and they don't even talk to each other except for like when they're on stage. Like they absolutely hate each other, but they both tried to do like their independent careers and it never caught on. So now you're stuck with this dude that you absolutely loathe. I don't know. Look, you go on the road with some guy for decades, you probably ended up sleeping with each other's wives or girlfriends, or there's all kinds of drama that's gone on, like high school girls. But look, that's probably a heck of a show. They're going to be at Lucas Oil Live, WinStar World Casino and Resort, May 11th. Get tickets at winstar.com. Or if you want to win tickets to see Brooks and Dunn, call right now for Dead or Alive. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I have it lined up today, the Parker edition, just to let you know how painfully generic my name is. We did the James edition a few weeks ago. We're going to do the Parker edition on today's Dead or Alive. If anyone calls, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. History was made this weekend. We had the first Supreme Court justice be on Broadway. Ketanji, I think her name's Affirmative Action Jackson. Isn't that what it is? Ketanji Brown Jackson was in a live Broadway play this weekend called And Juliet, which there's Romeo and Juliet, but if you take Romeo out, it's just And Juliet. So if you erase the men from the picture, just like the Madison school shooter maybe wanted to do, we think we'll get on that tomorrow. Now you're just left with And Juliet. So yeah, it's a radical feminist, LGBT plus Q, whatever, activist play that she was in. And I thought that was adorable because we're told that Clarence Thomas needs to recuse himself from all kinds of cases, especially ones that have to do with January 6th, because his wife has expressed support for January 6ers before. And so he's, of course, biased and tainted and not impartial and should be no part of those cases. Cool. Does this mean KBJ, Ketanji Brown Jackson, has to recuse herself from any case having to do with LGBTQ issues now that she's demonstrated, not only publicly, but live on a Broadway play, that she has a pre-existing bias? Oh, no one's going to call for that? Oh, that doesn't make any sense, because that would mean they're absolute political hacks and dishonest and not serious about them asking for Clarence Thomas to recuse himself. I don't believe it. They wouldn't lie just to get Clarence Thomas to recuse himself. That would not be playing fair. You know, these people don't care. All right, with that being said, y'all ready for Dead or Alive? Let's hit it. All right, thank you, Mr. Joe V. Welcome to Dead or Alive. I am your host, James Parker. Today we're playing for 2 tickets to see Brooks and Dunn coming to Lucas Oil Live at WinStar World Casino and Resort, May 11th. For the rest of us, we get our tickets at winstar.com, but we'll see if Becky can get them from us. Becky in Arlington, you're first up on Dead or Alive, the Parker edition. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Actress Parker Posey, is she dead or alive?
Alive?
She's alive, yeah. She's only 56. Actress Sarah Jessica Parker, dead or alive?
Alive.
She is. The last big chief of the Comanches, Quanah Parker, is he dead or alive?
I have no idea.
Well, you want to guess?
I'm going to say alive.
No, he died in 1911. So he's,
Oh, my God.
Yeah, he's been dead for 113 years. Don't hang up. We might have to walk back around to you. Who's next up here? Chadwick. Your name's Chadwick?
Yes.
That sounds awesome. Mary Louise Parker, dead or alive?
Alive.
Bonnie Parker from Bonnie and Clyde, dead or alive?
Dead.
Died in 1934, so it's been 90 years. I'm glad you got that one. Fess Parker is the name of the actor. He played Davy Crockett for Disney all those years ago. Is he dead or alive?
Dead.
He is dead. Died in 2010. Trey Parker, as in Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators of South Park. Is he dead or alive?
Alive.
He is alive. 55 years old. And finally, for the tickets to go see Brooks and Dunn, the man's name is Jameson Parker. He's the other guy in Simon and Simon, not Gerald McRaney, the blonde one. Jameson Parker, is he dead or alive?
Alive.
He is alive. Oh, you did it. Yeah. Let's hit it again. All right, I'm going to put you on hold. Don't hang up. Garrett will get your information, then he will email you the tickets. Chadwick from Hearst is our big winner on Dead or Alive. Chadwick sounds like he's like a foreigner from some white country, like Norway or Sweden or England or Wales or something. Like he knows words I don't. Right, Chadwick? Like Chadwick Boseman. It's like, will you hand me that? What is that, a wheelbarrow? No, in England we call that piddly wickets. That's what it is, piddly wickets. Sounds like he knows words like piddly wickets. Coming up next, The View is not real happy with RFK coming in as Health and Human Services, and they're really concerned because he may be going after weight loss drugs. And no, I'm not making a fat joke. That they're really, really concerned that he may be taking away their Manjaro or Kilimanjaro or whatever it's called. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there. Welcome back to The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Find me on social media. WBAP's got your normal channels. We got Facebook and X are the most popular ones, but we have other stuff, YouTube, Instagram. Go check it out online. Next time you're goofing around, I know what you're doing when you're in the handicap stall at work, taking your time, goofing around on your phone. You can waste some of that time with us. Find WBAP on your social media as well. All right, my next guest is going to help us keep an eye on our money while all this other weird news is spinning around us. There's some things going on that affect your wallet. Spencer McGowan, first things first, the Fed is expected to announce their action on interest rates, if any. Are you expecting a cut?
Well, the Treasury market is predicting it. So the 90-day T-bill follows the Fed funds rate. So there's the overnight bank lending rate, right? That's the rate on cash that banks charge each other. And the Fed sets that rate. Then the 90-day T-bills follow. Well, sometimes they lead. And the 90-day T-bill, instead of being at 4.64, is already down at 4.32. This happened in September. It happened in November. That means that big money somehow knows, because the Fed is leaky, that they'll cut by 0.25%. But there's something more important.
Go ahead.
And that is the Fed actually publishes all the suits, the presidents and the governors, Federal Reserve Board members. They all get together and they form a consensus, and then they publish it. They're going to update it on Wednesday, by the way. And they showed you back in March that by 2027, they're going to be below 3%, which means they generally cut every other meeting to get there. And so the T-bills just told you the big money somehow got the news that they're going to cut.
All right. So how accurate are these predictions? Do they get it wrong often or ever?
Well, sometimes the Fed likes to throw the markets a curveball, right?
Right.
And, for example, one curveball was how high they went to 5.3% on cash rates. And then, of course, they delayed the cut because they said inflation was sticky. Well, inflation was sticky because of overregulation, overspending, and that may change, and it may accelerate the path down below 3%, which is about where they should be, according to Federal Reserve economics.
So what are we expecting with the changing of administrations? Because I've always said you can only do so much about inflation until you balance the budget. Are we going to even get close to a balanced budget in your speculation? I know that's an impossible question, but if you have to guess based on what we know now, what would you say, Spence?
Argentinian President Javier Milei. You sound like you're more in Javier Milei's camp, right?
Yes, and apparently the studio audience is too. We're big fans of Milei.
And I would guess Reagan, too, falls into that genre.
Well, I'm not so big on the deficit spending, but most of his economics are closer than what we've been seeing.
Good point. Now, you've got Doge out there saying we could find $2 trillion in waste. And of course, the other side of the aisle is saying there's no way that you could balance that budget. Well, actually, they've already put forward a pretty good premise on how it could be balanced, and they're well on their way to saying this is how we get there. At the same time, deregulation increases productivity, increases supply, and it actually decreases prices. Everybody's been saying, hey, prices are going up less, but they're still way above where they were. Well, deregulation could solve that.
All right, Spencer McGowan, I heard you a little bit this weekend. What's coming up next weekend on your show?
Oh, we have all these 2025 predictions. And, James, we give out Bozo Awards for those that were dead wrong last year. And Sir John Templeton, who was a great money manager, we should probably call it the Warren Buffett Award. But anyway, those that get it right. So we set the stage by doing all the forecasts and considering the possibilities. And we've got some of our own for what would be a surprise next year.
Like if the S&P hits 6,000 or if Missy Elliott makes a comeback, something like that? All right, Spencer McGowan, you can find him at Net Worth Radio. What's your website again? Is it networthradio.com?
Perfect. Thank you, James.
I did that from memory now. I don't even need notes on you anymore, Spencer.
Thank you, sir.
All right, check him out on the weekends. He's on both WBAP and KLIF. I've actually heard him on the sister station this weekend. All right, coming up next, breaking news. Police Chief Sean Barnes is out, and he's making some statements on the school shooting that happened in Madison, Wisconsin this morning, and you'll hear it next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.